Oh, welcome. It's season 2, episode 7. Nick Luck with you from Teddington, Southwest London, alongside Brittany Earton in Los Angeles. And back with us, he was the missing and much missed link last week. Mm-hmm. Our favorite man against the Brooklyn brick wall.
The brick wall.
Everyone's favorite mixologist. You're back in the bosom of our hearts, Mark.
I was like, where's he going with us, right?
Thank you so much, guys. Yeah, it was, I won't get into details, but had a family emergency last week. Everyone is okay, on the mend here. So I missed you guys. And for my spirits to be with you and to be with our viewers is like medicine. So happy to be here. Nick, did you fill in for me? Did you make any cocktails last week?
In my head, I did.
We wouldn't let them do that.
I'm not sure what came out. In my head, I'm such a great mixologist.
Yeah.
It was probably one we did. It may have been a whiskey sour.
There you go. Yeah.
Something like that. Cheers,
I'm kind of lame. I got some water.
Oh dear. It's early, I guess.
If I'm being honest, I've been doing this cleanse, and it doesn't allow alcohol.
So what do you do in that? Can you just quickly talk us through the cleansing routine?
What do? You do nothing. You become instantly incredibly boring. It's no gluten, no alcohol, no dairy, no caffeine, no animal products. So
wow. What is it? Like dust? Are you allowed dust?
Vegetables, fruit, water.
What day are you on? Because I know sometimes the first couple of days of something like that can be pretty tough.
So actually, I was only going to do it for 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I'm well beyond my 3 days. I've just kind of continued, I guess.
Wow.
Why?
Awesome.
I don't know.
Do you feel the benefit from it?
Mentally, yeah. I do feel like my head's a little bit clearer than maybe it would be if I had a few glasses of wine.
To be honest, I did think you were looking a bit out of shape, so it's a good job you're doing that.
I think it's good to reset. It's really good to reset. It's not necessarily always for a weight loss thing.
Your skin was looking terrible too. So
oh my god,
I had a lot to work on.
Yeah. But now, after your water and dust diet, it's just you look great.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Start promoting that. Water and dust. No, absolutely not. Mark, get us back on the rails here. What is on the menu tonight for a cocktail?
Yeah, well, we have an action-packed show tonight. So we're only going to be making one drink, but we're going to make it count. We're going to be doing a bourbon variation of a classic called the Blinker cocktail. I'm going to get into this a little bit, but it's interesting. Blinker would be another name for blinder, like the blinders that horses would wear to kind of keep them from getting distracted on the track.
We call them blinkers.
Okay. So
in America, that's what we call them.
Yeah, this is an interesting, so it ties into our theme, obviously, but it's an interesting cocktail too. This is, actually, I found this one in a book called Vintage Spirits and Forgotten Cocktails. So when I am really at a loss for trying to find a new drink to introduce to you guys, I'll thumb through this book. It has all sorts of ingredients in cocktails that have almost been lost to time, but thank goodness for the author, Ted Hay. He really brought them back into the forefront again. So I'm really excited to talk about this cocktail, as well as show our viewers how to make my famous, well, at least for me, raspberry syrup recipe. It's going to be really, really fun.
It's famous. Doesn't need a disclaimer.
Yeah, we're going to make it famous.
I love it. I'm excited. Nick Luck, what's the latest in your realm? I hear some exciting news coming out of Royal Ascot.
Yeah, I mean, for this audience, Royal Ascot is it here, of course. Last week I was saying the 4,000 a day. It's up to 12,000 a day now because the government have incorporated Ascot as part of one of their event research program events, which means that between now and the 21st of June, certain sporting events will be given special dispensation to hold more spectators. Ascot is such a huge, spacious, capacious place that you're going to be safe there. Even if you're indoors, you're going to be miles away from anybody else. So 12,000 people will be accommodated very safely, and they can make something of a party of the event. Not quite like it should be, but still they can make something of a party of it. It's given everybody a little boost. So we're very much looking forward to that. And I'm looking forward, Brittany, to the fact that there are so many American horses planning on coming over. particularly Wesley Ward, but others as well.
I read that he is planning to send over 8 horses.
Yeah,
which is, correct me if I'm wrong, 12th Royal Ascot win?
Yeah, that's kind of par for him, isn't it? Because he would normally seed every 2-year-old race. So he'd normally have a runner in every 2-year-old race, maybe 2 in a couple, and then 1 or 2 others. So yeah, 8 would be about his normal number. So yeah, really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it.
Can we maybe get a top hat on you the week prior to Royal Ascot? I just feel like it's a
yes.
You actually give me 1 second, because I've got a brand new top hat.
You're gonna show
I'm going to message my trusty assistant to bring it in to show you, because it's been specially commissioned and sourced for me by my very good friend and TV colleague, regularly appears on my podcast, The Daily Mirror's David Yates. He has a side hustle, and rather a successful side hustle as well, as the top hat man of Old London Town, because they don't make top hats anymore.
What?
So the old silk topper, you can go, obviously they make fake top hats. So
the traditional one.
The actual properly made silk top hats are not made anymore, because those looms do not exist. So the original top hat has to be, so he sources a lot of them from Germany and Eastern Europe and imports them to the UK, gets them reconditioned, remade, put through a conformateur, and then gets them, and they're amazing. They're absolutely fantastic. So if any of you are watching who want to go to Royal Ascot, maybe next year, 2022, if you're in America, probably, silktoppers.com, I think is his website, but he's the top hat man of Old London Town, and I couldn't recommend him.
Right, Hannah Bloom wants to see the hat. Should we say
I hope that the hat just floats in any minute now.
I'm messaging.
By the way, I can't believe you make your assistant, aka lovely wife, stay up this late. Do things like bring you a top hat.
It's going to come with a martini too.
Hang on. So I'm going to say, can I have my top hat, please? My new top hat.
Why do I feel like that would be the strangest thing that you've requested during one of our shows?
No, it won't be the strangest at all. So that's the good news. I had some bad news today as well. I don't want to make this all about me. I'm laying out after this. Do you remember when I was talking about the riding stables down the road that we were trying to save? And we raised an enormous amount of money to save riding stables here where I live in southwest London, one of the closest riding stables to inner city London, and it gave thousands of disabled children rides every year in the parks and the royal parks, and provided a fantastic service for children of families who were a little less fortunate than others and wouldn't have the chance to buy their own ponies and horses. Not only that, it was a huge sort of community hub, and the landlord was going to sell the premises. Anyway, huge crowdfunding effort, raised £1.3 million to save the premises. But no sooner had this money been raised than the landlord then decided to move the goalposts, and is now demanding £1.35 million for it.
That's not right.
Now, the charity commission. So the charity commission dictate you're not allowed to sell your to buy the property for more than it's worth if you as a charity are buying it. So they're caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, really. They don't want to overpay, but obviously these guys don't really have another offer. So they're having to hoof out and go to another premises for a while. It's very sad, and I was down there filming it this morning. And hopefully this is just the next little part of the tussle, the next part of the challenge. But fingers crossed we can get the job done.
It sounds like they're doing fantastic work, and that they have for a long time. So if that means having to move to a different home that is really where they're going to be supported for the future, then maybe it's it'll be something positive in the future. But definitely sad that that's happening. I'm sorry, Nick. I think the top hat has arrived. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of for the end of the show.
Okay. We'll keep it, yes. We'll keep it to the end of the show.
Should we leave it for the end of the show? I feel like we need a bit of sobriety, get back on the rails. I can see I'm making Brittany jittery on her juice diet.
I don't know. I should ask my friends that I've been around for the first 3 days of this cleanse, but I don't think I've been on it.
You know what? I'm going to say something
bright and sunny.
I'm going to say something sincere now, and that's where the sincerity ends. I am really going to miss you this year.
You didn't miss me last year?
Well, last year was just COVID weird, wasn't it?
It was.
Whatever. You just took whatever you could get. But I am really going to miss you this year. It was fun. 2 years ago, 2019, we had a blast.
We did. I'm even going to cheers with that and wish I had a glass of wine. I can say that it is hands down one of my, if not the favorite event for me to cover. Breeders' Cup is another world, but Royal Ascot for me and getting to work with you, that was one of the best experiences I've ever had. And still to this day, and I'm not trying to, pump us up here, people will still come up to me and say how much they enjoy NBC's coverage of Royal Ascot. So I will miss being there, and I hope 2022 we can do it again. Before we bring in a crew that is going to take my rundown well off the rails, I'm sure, I just wanted to give a shout out, one, to a movie I saw this weekend called Dream Horse that had me in tears the entire movie.
Great story.
I'm not going to go into the movie at all. Just go see it, please. It's fantastic. And two, we have our first Breeders' Cup Win and You're In challenge race coming up at Santa Anita on Monday. It's the Shoemaker Mile. So that coming to you from Santa Anita. You can catch it on TVG. Going to be a lot of fun. Okay, that's all the stuff I needed to get in before you tell everybody about our special guests.
So our special guests this week are 5 guys who are enjoying the ride of their life. With just their 3rd horse, they met one another as fraternity brothers at Brown University, and it wasn't even that long ago, let's face it. They have got together with the assistance of trainer Doug O'Neill, and they are now part owners of Hot Rod Charlie, the Kentucky Derby 3rd, who is on course now for the Belmont Stakes, where Flavien Prat has chosen to ride him over the Preakness hero, Ron Bow. What a wonderful ride they're enjoying, and we're enjoying it with them. So we're going to welcome boat racing to the show. I'm hoping all 5 members. I'm not quite sure how this is going to happen. There's going to be more windows here.
2, 3.
It's like the Brady Bunch here.
4 and 5. I know. I wonder where everyone's sitting. Down to the left. Gentlemen, hello. While we're waiting for more, Eric, Riley, and Alex, please, where are each of you right now? And again, I just want to say this is probably going to be tough with the delay and everyone trying to talk, but we're going to work through it, right? It's pandemic. Alex, where are you at?
I'm in Santa Monica, California, coming to you live a couple blocks away from the beach at my apartment.
You're a couple blocks from me. We could have just done the show together.
Anytime.
Beautiful day, right? All right, Riley, where are you at?
I'm up in San Francisco in the Bay Area.
So we got Santa Monica, San Francisco, and Eric, where are you?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. Hot Atlanta.
Hot Atlanta. I think I've actually spent time in Atlanta, maybe on a layover. Boys, thank you for joining us while we're waiting for our other duo here. We have a lot of Chuck fans on the show, and so we'll try and get in as many questions as we can from all of the fans here. But I mean, first and foremost, how has the ride been? Eric, I'll start with you.
It's been incredible. We got into horse racing, looking to do fun things with each other. Maybe I'll pause quickly to let Patrick do an introduction as well. Hey, Patrick.
What's up, boys? And hey, Brittany and Nick, Mark. Sorry for being a little bit late. I think I'd figure out this whole Zoom thing by now, so I apologize.
We feel you. Patrick O'Neill, nephew of Doug O'Neill, and seems like the one that spearheaded boat racing. But Eric, go ahead and continue.
All right. So we got into horse racing, expecting to just have a good time with our friends, go to some races in Santa Anita, Del Mar. You know, little did we know we'd be going to Lexington, Kentucky for the Breeders' Cup, to New Orleans for the Louisiana Derby, and then ultimately the top tier of horse racing, the Kentucky Derby. Just an absolutely incredible ride. Not only has it been us 5, it's also been, you know, hundreds of people behind us coming to all the races, you know, cheering for Chuck. It's just been an incredible last couple months.
I just thought, Alex, that one of my abiding memories of the Kentucky Derby, and aside from the fact that it was the first time in 18 months, you know, I'd been in a sports venue with 61,000 people or 57,000 people or 51,000 people, or however many they said were there, felt like more. Just standing right in front of you guys as the whole grandstand started erupting with "Let's Go Chuck" 5 minutes before post time. There was something just it was a magical moment. It truly was, even if you had nothing to do with the horse.
I agree, Nick. We decided before we got there that we were just going to enjoy every second of it. And to us, that entailed just bringing the energy every step of the way, whether it was, at the barn at 7 a.m. on Tuesday morning or walking the track, 10 minutes to post on Saturday. We really felt like we were going to do right by ourselves and by each other to enjoy it as much as we could. And to us, it manifests in kind of that level of energy and trying to, have people kind of in our corner, but also, feeling the same passion for it that we were, which I think that a lot of the other owners are a little bit more subdued, and whether it's because of, their age or their demographic or kind of the air that they're trying to convey. And we don't really have any of that. And one thing I'll also say is that, when we were walking on the track, it felt like we had already won. Like we were there with all of our friends and all of our family. We never in a million years thought we'd get to that point. So it was, regardless of what the outcome was going to be in that moment, we felt like that was kind of our victory lap.
Well, we are missing one of the five here. Patrick, I want you to call him out. Why is Dan not here with us?
He supposedly thinks that, something having to do with his job is more important than CNC and Chuck and the boys and you, Brittany, and Nick and Mark. So I don't know. He's in significant friend debt right now. That's for sure.
I've spent years making up this one. Yeah.
We'll just spend the entire time making fun of him. Okay. Before we get into just the real depth of you five going to school together, I need somebody to tell me what boat racing is actually. Any of you? No, you don't. What's the drink?
I can jump in. It's a beer chugging relay race. So I know we're doing cocktails and conversations. I actually have the nectar of the gods myself here, a nice Bud Light, which I will be pleased to partake in while we're just sitting here hanging out.
All class.
It's a down and back beer chugging relay race. So you have teams of 5. You start at one end. 2 people chug beers. Their teammate isn't allowed to start until the person preceding them finishes. You go down, and the 5th person, who's the anchor, actually goes back to back and chugs 2 beers back and sends it back down to the front. It's a perfect mix of fun and competition and camaraderie that kind of embodies who we were as athletes and also as people who enjoy having a little bit of fun on the side.
So who was the that's my question exactly. Who was the designated anchor?
Alex, I'm going to say it was you.
It definitely wasn't Dan. We'll put it that way. We let him have an ice water every once in a while instead of a beer. But yeah, I could take on that role out of us 5, sure. But I think we have a lot of competent people in boat racing.
Yeah, Brittany, Nick, we were all kind of allowance caliber boat racing kind of players. I'll say there's a guy, Dave Dube, who is really, really strong. He was probably a stakes horse. And then there's also an individual who just got married, had a bachelor party right before we went to the Derby, Zach Sparber. And he was our kind of grade 1 Breeders' Cup Classic boat racer. That's for sure.
Is this what it looked like, though? I mean, would you all be in a line like you were in a boat?
The whole sitting thing is a little bit awkward. We didn't do a lot of that sitting.
Whoever that second guy was terribly slow, by the way. He would have been out. He's not making the travel team, that's for sure.
Worth noting, we also have 2 beers for our game. So you put a little twist on it. You go down and back. So a little twist.
Is that part of the rules that you have to empty the beer on top of your head, or once you're finished with it to show that you're empty?
Drink it or wear it.
We say drink it or wear it.
Got it.
One way or another. It's not allowed to be in the cup when you're done.
Okay, well, thank you for that, because I went to college, but I can't say I've ever partaken in boat racing. But good to know. For you guys spending so much time together, you had football, you had obviously school, and you had the fraternity. I mean, Reilly, what is this group of guys? What has this friendship kind of meant to you over the years?
Yeah, I mean, you said it well. We spent every single second together in college. We lived together. We woke up and went to practice together. We ate together. A lot of us were in the same classes or in the same majors. And over those 4 years, you develop a bond, and it is very real. And so when us five ended up on the West Coast, this was like the core of our class that ended up on the West Coast after college. We wanted to take our group text one step further. And, we were going on snowboarding trips. We were doing our, long weekend trips, going back to Brown every once in a while. But we wanted something that would bring us together more often and bring us some very cool experiences and memories. And we were at the track one day in Del Mar, and Doug had a winner, and we all just thought to ourselves, like, this is an amazing platform where we have an inside track via Patrick and the O'Neill family. Like, let's use this as the platform that brings us together more often. And we're all so stoked that we did so, obviously, and now being in the position we're in. But yeah, these guys mean the world to me, and I feel like our friendship just gotten stronger and stronger, especially these last few months.
And so, Patrick, you're then charged really with Doug to find the perfect experience for these guys who you've had formative experiences with for a few years as college mates. How much pressure did you feel to deliver the goods?
Yeah, you said it right, Nick. First and foremost, unfortunately, Doug's my uncle. I should start there. No, Doug's a great guy, and I'm so blessed to have him a part of our family. But there was there was a lot of pressure, and I'll say, and these guys laugh all the time. They brought up this now amazing idea at Del Mar, and I was the first one to say, guys, no, I've been a part of this sport. I was pretty much born in a stall. Love you guys. I don't want horse racing. I don't want money to ruin kind of this special bond that Reiley was alluding to. And, over time, they kind of convinced me that we're going to do it the right way. We're going to put an official LLC together. We're going to put on our college graduate minds and put it together and say, hey, let's do some type of operating agreement. So worst case scenario, when we run a horse at Fauner Park in a claiming race, which we ended up doing, we're not going to hate each other. We're not going to hate each other's guts. And this is all just upside. And Alex said it well. It's from the very beginning. If we never had Chuck, and thank God we do have Chuck, but if we just had those two horses, we spent 4 or 5 amazing weekends together in maiden claiming races. And we had so much fun. The tequila is the same if you're at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile or if you're at Del Mar running in a maiden claiming race. And so we did it for the right reasons. So I love these guys. And, somehow some higher power is looking above us and saying, these guys did it for the right reasons. So let's bless them with this amazing animal and this amazing new friend in Chuck.
Oh, the racing gods have surely been looking after you guys. But in the beginning, when this idea was posed, who was the most hesitant to jump on board? Had to have been somebody.
It was definitely Alex. Alex was certainly the most hesitant, rightfully so. The guy is, blessed to be going to and get his MBA in the fall, which is not cheap, as we all know. And so there was a little bit of a financial risk, right, with horse racing. And so he was a little bit hesitant, but, just like with anything, just like in friendship, we said, hey, Alex, we got your back. It's almost like this idea of when you're late at the bar, you're just hanging out. You're like, one more beer, Alex, one more beer. We got you. We're not going to do it without you. And he signed on. And obviously it would have been horrible if he wasn't a part of this journey.
Alex, what convinced you?
Me, exactly what Pat said. I was on board. It's funny how it worked out. I was on board for the first 2. We had Impossible Task and Tell Me I'm Pretty. And, it kind of worked out the way that most horses work out. We really enjoyed the experience. It was, brief, but it was exhaustive and fun. And we saw the horses run, and we actually saw a win. Tell Me I'm Pretty won her maiden. But it's like, we sold them off, and both through claiming races. It was kind of like, hey, this has been fun. We can kind of lick our wounds and call it an adventure now. And they're like, no, it's one more round. And it's like, from my perspective, it's like the dollars and cents don't really add up. It's got to be fewer than 10% of horses ever even make their money back. But, again, back to what Pat was saying, this is for the experience. We're doing it for fun. We're doing it to stay in touch. We're doing it, for the story, so to speak. And, the third horse was Hot Rod Charlie. And, even with Hot Rod Charlie, it wasn't always like, all right, like, this is it. We're going to, like, it's going to be the greatest thing that's ever happened to us. Like, it took him 4 tries to break his maiden. We got kind of a pity invite to go to the Breeders' Juvenile in November at Keeneland. And they were like, hey, pay to send the horse there. And it's like, you know, we got to cut a check for a few $1,000s a piece. So we're going to be like the longest odds in the field. Anyway, we're expecting like 30-1, which is what we were the morning line. And then, like, as you guys know, 30-1 turned to 45-1 to 68-1. He went off at 94-1. And like in that moment, it was kind of like, can't believe we just shelled all this money to show up and like run dead last. But at the same time, we're also like, this is so sick. We're at Keeneland. We're at the Breeders' Cup. Like, this is what we did it for, boys. Like, unbelievable that we made it this far. And then, like, upset of the century, Hot Rod Charlie runs in second. And, like, that kind of was the launch pad for what the last 6 months have entailed with, you know, we ran at Santa Anita. We ran at the fairgrounds in New Orleans. We win a grade 2 race at you know, the Louisiana Derby, and we go to Kentucky, and, you know, it's just been unbelievable.
It is incredible. And I look at the other three as Alex is telling the story, the just broad grin spreading across your faces as though you can barely believe it. Eric, when did you get the feeling that this part of the journey was just a little different from what you'd experienced previously? When did it dawn on you that you were embarking on something a bit unusual?
Well, we had a sample size of N equals 2 and Tell Me I'm Pretty and Impossible Task before we had our skyrocket run. So there wasn't a whole lot of reference points. Like when we won the Louisiana Derby, we obviously knew that we were going to the Kentucky Derby. We didn't really know all of, you know, that was entailed in that. Pat knew right away. He put us on weekly calls. We were scheduling every second of the week leading up to the Derby. We bought 90 tickets immediately. You know, the week after we made the Derby, we, you know, got sponsors and scheduled events and did all of this stuff. And that's for me when it really set in of like, I'd always heard about the Kentucky Derby as like, you know, the Super Bowl of horse racing was the only horse race I'd ever watched growing up. And then it really set in like, oh my gosh, we're going, and it's going to be incredible because we're going to have 200 people there that are all cheering with us. And it turned out to exceed those very high expectations that we had.
I find it so interesting because this really epitomizes the focus of youth, I would say. You mentioned press and sponsors and all of these things. I don't think a lot of owners that go to the Kentucky Derby that have been there before would think about any of that. They're enjoying being at the Derby, but it's a very smart thing to do. Who handled your PR, I should say, because you guys were on every network, on every podcast, and leading up to the Derby. Was that important to all of you to use this platform to showcase, I guess, you know, that horse racing can be fun? Patrick, I'll let you take that.
Yeah, I think it was a group effort. Just like with everything we do, we're not at this point, you know, benefiting from, you know, lots of money right from horse racing or from our day jobs. So our PR campaign was literally us getting on a call weekly and saying, Dan, you know somebody from Barstool, why don't you try? You know, Riley, you know somebody from Sentient Jet. You know, it'd be cool if we take a private jet, which by the way, we ended up taking Southwest. So Riley didn't do his job. But anyways, like, so it was a group effort. It was completely a group effort. And you know, I would say we realized right after the Louisiana Derby, because I was very, very fortunate, as you all know, to go on the ride with Mr. J. Paul Redham through Nyquist, and the ride in 2012 also with I'll Have Another. So I knew it was a big story because also the fact, which Brittany, you alluded to, is we're not your typical horse owner, right? And so we had this opportunity as a group to go out and do a couple of things. One, to show that you don't have to be a gazillionaire. You don't have to be, you know, in your upper, you know, 50s, 60s, 70s to own a horse and have this beautiful dream and participate in this amazing sport that I grew up with that, you know, I love dearly. So that was certainly one part of it. And then we said, hey, we have this unexpected platform, you know, this notoriety that we don't necessarily feel like we deserve. And so how can we as a group kind of take this platform and do better with it, do good, not even just for ourselves, not for boat racing, not for horse racing, but just do better for life in general. And so we got on a call, kudos to all these guys on this phone or on this, you know, on this chat today. And we said, hey, we should do something for charity. And, you know, unfortunately, my dad passed away in 2015 of melanoma at the age of 57. Doug's other brother, so my other uncle, passed away at the age of 38. Riley's friend or dad's best friend passed away just this past year. So melanoma hit home for all of us. And we said, let's create an initiative and say any benefit that we do throughout this whole journey with Chuck, let's give back to melanoma. So we partnered with the MRA, which is the Melanoma Research Alliance, and put together this program that a sixth of all net proceeds going forward. Bill Strauss is matching our proceeds. So thank you, Bill. Greg's doing his own charity as well. And we're donating, again, a sixth of our net proceeds going forward. And the whole idea is this idea of six man. So we are obviously played college sports. And the six man in basketball is that individual that goes above and beyond, doesn't get a lot of credit in basketball for the win, but is that gritty player that kind of is the difference between winning or losing. And so this six man initiative is for my dad. It's for my uncle. It's for Riley's, dad's best friend. And it's for anybody that's been stricken by melanoma because it means something to us. And hopefully we can bring awareness and bring additional research and just benefit to this kind of horrible, dreaded disease.
This is just one of the many reasons why Hot Rod Charlie is just so easy to root for. And if you are watching right now and able to donate to a very, very good cause, there is the link. Hopefully we can also get that attached on Facebook and get the link so you can actually click on it. You guys are just doing some really wonderful things. Patrick, what do you think your father would think of all of this? Not just your donation, but this ride that you and your four best friends have been on thus far.
Yeah, I laugh because, from a very young age, I saw Doug start from the very bottom, running claimers at, Lossow all the way to winning the Kentucky Derby in 2012. And there was always this family joke that, Patrick, you can love horse racing, but you can't get into the business. So, he's probably looking down and being like, look where you are now. And it had nothing to do with he didn't like horse racing. He just saw what happened to his grandfather, or my grandfather, his dad, where, he might have gambled a little bit too much. He could have lessened it down a little. Gambling's great, but not to the degree that he had done. And so I think I always laugh in the beginning that, we're in it, but we're doing it for the right reasons. And so, to your point, Brittany, I truly feel like hopefully he's proud of me, but not just me. All these guys on this call met him, had a beer with him in Providence, Rhode Island at Brown University, and he loves these guys like sons as well. So he's definitely was on Hot Rod Charlie in the Louisiana Derby, Breeders' Cup, and the Kentucky Derby, and he'll be on him, in the Belmont, riding right next to Flavien down to the wire. So, we're just extremely blessed.
Alex, I wanted to ask, you're all in different walks of life now. You've all gone into different professions, and I know you've got the MBA in process as well. How do all your new work colleagues, associates, friends, how have they responded to your journey? Have you carried them along with it, or are they like, yeah, horse racing, whatever?
That's a great question, Nick. So one thing I'll say is that I'm pretty sure we were the only owners at the Kentucky Derby who had to take PTO to go watch our horses run. So we all had to get, like, all of our bosses and colleagues are aware of the situation. I'll speak. So I work for Lyft. I'm the operations manager for the bikes and scooters platform in Los Angeles. And my boss was very gracious and just acknowledged, hey, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, people drive to the system entire life and never get there. So he was very gracious and we were working remotely basically from Louisville for the first 3 days of that week, Monday through Wednesday, but also kind of splitting time between going to the track, going to the barn, going to dinners, media opportunities. But people have really gravitated towards this, at least in my work. But then also just leading up to the Derby, and I had like hundreds of text messages from close friends, from family, from people I haven't talked to in years who were just like, hey, like, just saw you live on SportsCenter this morning, like, really pulling for you and the guys. But, to that point also, it wasn't like we won the Louisiana Derby and we weren't like, oh, the five of us are going to the Kentucky Derby. It was the five of us are going to the Kentucky Derby and we're bringing all of our people. We're going to get tickets. We're going to get the crowd fired up. And, like, for us, it's like, really a coming out party due to COVID. Like, we haven't had a chance we missed our 5-year college reunion, which was supposed to be Memorial Day weekend of last year. It got pushed to this year, but then was made virtual. And it was like, this is a perfect reunion. It's perfect for all of our friends from growing up to come and meet us. It's great for, like, our coworkers to be able to like either come in person or follow along on TV. So all of that kind of culminated in a perfect situation for us to have all of our walks of life collide at Churchill Downs.
Riley, I see you smiling as Alex is talking there. I'm dying to know what all of your friends that you went to Brown with, you played with, that are not a part of this, five-some from boat that encapsulate boat racing. Are they jealous? Do they want in? I mean, what's the response from all of those friends not with us?
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't be more supportive of all of us, but I'd be lying if I haven't, or we'd all be lying if we haven't gotten those text messages saying like, how do we get in on the next one? Or like what can we do to get in on Chuck and that sort of thing. Which is tough. Like we would obviously love to include all of them, but like us setting up a legit business and an LLC, like there's only a certain way we can operate. But we were all together at one of our best friends got married this past weekend, and that was certainly a topic of conversation, and I'm guessing it will continue to be so.
They hate you.
Yeah, right. I mean,
everyone just kind of gets a grip of it, the better. I mean, you were lucky to get the wedding invite before Hot Rod Charlie got the points for the Kentucky Derby. Otherwise,
yeah, we'll shout him out. Zach Sparber, congratulations, Allie. Beautiful wedding, beautiful reception ceremony, and even the kicker there is the five of us went to the Kentucky Derby from his bachelor party. We were all in Raleigh, Durham, and we were there for the weekend. We woke up like 4:45 a.m. Sunday morning to fly Southwest, connect through Atlanta to get to Louisville. So they've been super supportive the entire way.
And we'd love for them all to get involved. We got some stuff coming down the pipeline, maybe to bring horse racing to the people. So more to follow soon on that front.
I mean, that's the tease of all teases. I mean, you want to just launch your idea on Cocktails and Conversations. We're okay with that.
Hey, I haven't been as close to it. Maybe more to follow on a follow. You have to have us back on here for a follow-up drink and interview.
Oh,
done and done. Speaking of a drink, our amazing.
Oh, hang on, brother. I just one sec. I know Mark's itching. He's itching to get into the Bourbon Blinker, but
everybody's itching for a cocktail.
I did want to just pick Eric up a little there because I know you might not go into the specifics, but is that I was fascinated by what you said there. How much do you see this as an opportunity to be, evangelists for the sport? How much are you embracing that side of it?
Pat said it well. We've been given a platform that we didn't really do much to deserve. We just got lucky, and so we're trying to leverage it in any way that we can, capture lightning in a bottle, doing the MRA thing. We're also, launching a social media thing. Just generally, horse racing is such an exciting sport that we want to bring it to more people, and horse racing for the people is kind of this theme that we've been saying over and over again. And, whether that's through getting more people at Del Mar for opening day or for the Kentucky Derby or for Belmont next Saturday, or, investing in horses, all of those things are things that we're interested in exploring.
Patrick, you're so close to the sport. How much is something like that needed?
Drastically. I think you mentioned it earlier, whether it's the social media, the sponsorships, thinking about it in a different way, which these guys have brought, is what the sport needs. I think about the Kentucky Derby and Riley yelling at the fans, and the fan was yelling back on the walkover, and that amount of energy is just what every other major sport does. And there's no reason why horse racing shouldn't, and it's something that I love, this amazing industry, this amazing sport. And so taking this kind of newfound way of thinking is certainly very, very important to me. Eric mentioned, we have some things we're thinking about. There are some hurdles, right, with horse ownership. And so how do we take away those hurdles, make it easy for Zach Sparber and Allie to roll their wedding dues into a horse, for 2022 as an example. So that's what we're thinking about. It is an amazing sport. We did it for the right reasons. I think there's a couple of things that we're focused on to try to bring to this new endeavor that we're thinking about, which is you got to have the right partners. Very, very important. The second thing, you got to diversify, think about hedge funds, what they do. I think you got to do something similar with horses. We all know if you put all your eggs in one basket, it's probably a recipe for disaster. That's not just horse racing, that's everything. And then you got to trust the people in which that are investing on your behalf. I'm very fortunate that our investor is Doug's brother, Dennis, our bloodstock agent. So as much as we joke a ton, I don't think he would, backstab me in a way. So those are the types of things that we're thinking about. And if we can kind of solve those issues, check those boxes, and bring it to all these people that have reached out to us saying, we want to do what you guys are doing. We heard from, I think, Union College. They have the same exact fraternity that we have, these 20-year-old guys on campus saying, I love this sport. Look what you guys are doing. We want to do the same exact thing. Like it's possible. So we just kind of are thinking through at the best way in which to do so.
Wow. That's
cheers to you guys. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Cheers to you guys. Mark, let's have a drink.
Absolutely, guys. Well, if you've seen the show before, guys, you know that I kind of geek out about the cocktails, but I'll have to tell you, I'm 35 years old, and if I have a chance to play beer pong, I take it in a heartbeat. 35? I'm 35, yeah.
Oh.
Breaking news.
He has a high school aged or now college aged son.
Just finished his first year, his freshman year of college at Baruch. Yeah, believe it or not. But yeah, so we do focus on cocktails here. But if you guys ever find yourself in Brooklyn, in New York, let's hang out. We'll do a round of boat racing or beer pong or something. But in the meantime, we've got our Bourbon Blinker today. This is an interesting cocktail because I was mentioning before that sometimes when I'm at a loss for what cocktail I'm going to feature on this show and I want to find something really interesting and unique, I'll actually dive into this really fantastic book. I'm going to switch views early here so that you can see it. This is Vintage Cocktails, Vintage Spirits and Forgotten Cocktails. Hopefully you can see this right here. It's a really, really fun book written by Ted Hay, also known, I think he's, Dr. Cocktail. But this is the recipe for the Bourbon Blinker. So it's a beautiful book. You see these old depictions, original recipes, some notes on ingredients. So if you have been enjoying the cocktails that we do each week and you want a real kind of a treat as far as some forgotten cocktails, this is a great book to pick up. Now, the Blinker itself is an interesting drink, as I mentioned, because it looks a little funny on paper. It is traditionally rye whiskey. We're going to be making it with bourbon today, and then grapefruit juice and either grenadine or raspberry syrup. So it kind of sounds a little funny, right? Maybe it sounds like it's going to be too sweet, but it actually balances out really, really nicely. It's a fantastic drink. It was first featured in Patrick Gavin Duffy's official mixer's manual back in 1934. So this is truly a vintage cocktail here. But for me, what makes this drink spectacular is a homemade raspberry syrup. So we're going to be doing that instead of the grenadine that they list. The famous raspberry syrup, and I do want to show you guys how to make it. So before I dive into how we're going to make the cocktail itself, let me take you through the way that I typically prepare a raspberry syrup, but really any fruit syrup for that matter. Because I know we can buy these things at the store, Monin, all these different brands that you can purchase, but oftentimes they're full of preservatives and artificial flavorings and sweeteners. So I think one of the best things you can learn how to do is make a delicious fresh fruit syrup at home. So let's go through this. What you're going to want is some fresh raspberries. Mm-hmm. So about a cup and a half, 1 cup of sugar, a little pinch of salt, and some water. Now you can even do hot water and mix this right into the container. So we've got our berries there. You're going to add that sugar in. Now salt, even in sweet preparations, brings out the flavor. So a little pinch of salt is going to go a long way. Mash that all together. You're going to get all of those flavors out of the berries. And then we're going to add some hot water to it. Now, you don't want to really cook this mixture too much because then you start erring on the side of that cooked kind of like pancakey sort of fruit syrup that you would get at IHOP. That's not what we're looking for. We want a fresh, bright flavor. And that's pretty much it. You let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. You strain that syrup out. You can see the beautiful red color there. And that is your homemade raspberry syrup. Actually, not
the production values on this. I mean, if we don't get picked up and commissioned, I will be very disappointed.
I'm trying to do my part as best as I can, Nick. But thank you.
Mark is going to get picked up and commissioned, and it's just going to be you and I.
No. It's this is like the boat racing corporation. It's all or nothing. We're going to go all together, or it's not going to happen at all. Right. So guys, let's start making this cocktail. We are going to start off with let's do just a ½ ounce of our homemade raspberry syrup.
Mark,
again, we don't.
Bill has the best comment of the night. Can we pop up Bill Ziegman's comment, please? Oh, it's just too good.
Yeah,
That's the aftershock. I know. Hey, yeah, I'm still devastated that I'm 35. I don't know. Still trying to adapt to that. Almost 36 coming up in July. So a half ounce of
they were
raspberry
great
syrup.
days. They were great days.
I want to relive those sort
Do
of
you remember
college
them?
era days.
They
What,
were
35,
wonderful
Nick?
days. Wonderful days they were.
All right, guys. So a half an ounce of our raspberry syrup. We don't want this to be too sweet. And then an ounce and a half of fresh grapefruit juice. That freshly squeezed juice is really going to make a big difference here. There are some good quality grapefruit juices that you can buy in the store, but whenever possible, fresh lemon, lime, grapefruit, orange, it's going to take your cocktails up to a whole other level. So about an ounce and a half of our grapefruit juice. Going to lengthen the cocktail out a little bit and also sort of balance out the sweetness from the raspberry syrup. But one thing that I really like about using the homemade syrup is that there's actually a tartness to it. There's a beautiful brightness that you most likely won't get from a store-bought brand. You really preserve that fresh fruit flavor. So again, traditionally, this cocktail would be made with rye whiskey, but I always say we love our maker's mark here on Cocktails in Conversation. So we're going to be making this with bourbon today, and it's going to be a bourbon blinker.
Is the boat racing team fans of makers?
Very much
We are.
so.
I had enough bourbon in the 1 week I was in Louisville to last me probably the rest of this calendar year.
I hope this isn't making you sick looking at the whiskey then.
Yeah, the fifth boat racing guy, Dan, would die from the amount of sugar in that cocktail, but I think the rest of us are up for it.
All right, it's okay, Dan. You know, he's on the business call. So while he's doing that, we're going to focus on the sweet stuff. But no. All right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and shake this cocktail up. So let's fill our cocktail shaker with ice.
Mark,
Yes,
when we write the book at the end of the year,
yeah.
do we have to do it? I mean, like you've done quite a few mocktails for those who don't like their liquor. Are we going to have to do cocktails for diabetics as well?
You know, I mean, we were talking about that, and I do want to feature the Hemingway daiquiri later on this season because there are
no sugar.
It's, you know what, they use maraschino liqueur instead of sugar. If you remember, I mentioned that Ernest Hemingway was diabetic, so he actually used the maraschino liqueur in place of the sugar, and it's a great low glycemic sort of alternative to just simple syrup. Maybe using agave nectar in certain cocktails as well could be a good compromise. So yeah, we're gonna make sure that our cocktail book has a little something for everyone. So it's a good suggestion.
Oh,
let's go ahead and shake this cocktail up, guys. All right, nice and cold here. I don't know about you guys in New York.
On a cocktail.
What's that, Brittany?
Just the sound of you shaking the cocktail makes me want one.
I know. You know what? It's starting to get very humid in New York City. You could probably tell. My hair is starting to get weighted down. Little hot, little humid here. I think we've got a lot of rain.
Hang on a minute. Are you two flirting? Stop it.
No. I wouldn't dream of it. No, Nick. Maybe I'll flirt with you, but you know.
Because Nick's over 35.
Just to bother you.
Yeah, over 35, that's fine. It's safe.
All right, guys. Look at the color on this cocktail. It's really, really beautiful. Kind of a rosy pink color. Definitely from the grapefruit juice, but from that raspberry syrup as well. In the recipe that I listed, I said you could do a skewer of raspberries. But I think I'm going to pull an audible here, maybe tie in the football theme a little bit for the guys, and do a grapefruit peel instead. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go ahead and do a very nice large grapefruit peel, express those oils on top of the drink to just give a little bit more complexity, and rest that inside. That's going to be our bourbon blinker.
Gorgeous.
Cheers, guys.
Wow, that looks lovely.
Gentlemen, what do you think? Real men wear pink, right? It's not too really.
That's a masterpiece. Well done.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Cheers.
Mark, you're back. You're so very back, and we are so blessed to have you back as well.
Thank you, guys.
Top man. Wasn't the same without him, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was. I mean, Michael McCarthy was fantastic, but you and I, it's like we were missing a limb.
I did feel though it was very intimate, you, me, and Michael, wasn't it?
It was.
Did you not feel? He again has been a great advert for the sport this year, and it links us neatly into the jockey, into Hot Rod Charlie's jockey Flavien Pratt, who Patrick is. I guess, was it always agreed that he would ride Chuck when you went to the Belmont, irrespective of what happened with Ron Bauer in the Preakness?
No, it was not always agreed upon. I think very early on, as you guys all know, in the Louisiana Derby, we had Joel Rosario on Hot Rod Charlie. And then shortly thereafter, I think in the interest of just kind of giving Flavien, who had been working Hot Rod Charlie for quite some time, kind of some commitment. We all know it's like having LeBron on your horse or Kevin Durant, so you can't really go wrong in either way. And so just being kind of good stewards of the industry, the community, we said, Pratt, we're not going to keep, waiting. We're not going to keep you waiting. We're just going to commit because, Joel has so many options as well. So that going back before the Kentucky Derby, that decision was made. And I think that type of loyalty is kind of what made, Flavien and his agent, I believe Ronnie, kind of say, let's just kind of all this good vibes, all these good spirits, let's commit to Hot Rod Charlie in the Belmont. Michael's horse ran absolutely huge in the Preakness, and so no one would be mad if, Flavien's like, hey, I'm going to ride that horse, in the Belmont. But again, there's so many good jockeys. Johnny Velasquez, again, if he's not Kevin Durant or LeBron James, he's Michael Jordan right now. And so again, we're just blessed to have one of those three, and that's kind of how it all came to be.
These jocks are going to be loved compared to those three basketball players. You mentioned the Louisiana Derby, and that seems like that was the real breakout moment, not just for Hot Rod Charlie, but for boat racing as well. So take me back to that day, Eric. What was the entire lead up to the race like for you guys? Because we still very much so were in a pandemic, but things were slowly starting to open, so you were able to be on site.
Yeah, it was another business trip for us. We showed up 2 or 3 days early, and we're getting our practice boat races in, and making sure that we saw Lexington the right way, and showed up on race day ready to go. Went and said hey to Chuck back in the stable, and actually we had an interview kind of back there in the stable before the Louisiana Derby went off. And I believe Alex was the one closest to Chuck. And as he was talking, Chuck kind of grabbed his arm, and Alex just stone cold kept going with the interview. This is a true man of the people, while Chuck just grabbed his arm here. So we were a little worried that we spent a little too much time around him, kind of pre-race, but got past that, got on to the race actually going off, and it was just it was incredible. We leading from wire to wire the whole time. We were going nuts, screaming. Once he crossed the finish line, we were running, chest bumping, high-fiving. Several of our parents were there. My dad was there wearing this ridiculous striped brown and white blazer. He's in like all the pictures, this like huge guy with like, so pretty funny, just an amazing scene. And then from there it was on. We knew we were going to the Derby, and so prepping for Louisville after that.
I mean, we got some great shots in there. NBC had a camera on you. Alex, you were going absolutely nuts. Put into words what you're thinking right now as this horse is coming down to the wire.
So we knew what we had to do. We knew we had to come to the top 2 to get enough points to qualify for the Derby. The strategy was never to go out to the lead. So he breaks well, obviously. He hits the first turn, and he's setting the pace, and we're kind of like, Joel, like, what's going on, man? Like, what are you thinking? And then he maintains, he's on the back stretch, and we're feeling good about where he's at. And then he starts going around the final turn, and as he gets like close to hitting the home stretch, I think it's Midnight Bourbon starts to slowly eclipse him. That's like when you start white knuckling it, like, oh boy, like hold on. We just like top two. And I think Chuck kind of saw Midnight Bourbon slowly eclipse him, and he was like, oh, it's showtime, baby. And he just hit the afterburners, ended up winning by like a length and a half or 2 lengths. But once he hit like the 8th pole, and we knew that he had enough gas to come in the top 2, we just went berserk. Like you can see Pat like shoves us and just takes off running, and instant kind of takes over. We take off running. NBC was really courteous because I actually wiped out. I just biffed super hard when I was like running off the grandstand, like my foot slipped. I wiped out, yard sale, phone, wallet, keys everywhere. But we just like didn't slow us down. We were chest bumping, hugging each other, hugging our parents, our girlfriends who were there. amazing. I can't even put that moment into words. I'm not even doing it justice, but really surreal.
Party on, boat racing.
Oh, look at this.
Who is that running? Somebody is sprinting to the winner's circle.
I don't know. I think one thing. So first, Brittany, one thing really funny is we watched the NBC footage after, and we couldn't stop laughing when you went into commercial and we're like, boat racing, party on. And that was kind of one of our themes going to the Kentucky Derby. So thank you for doing that. But one thing that doesn't get enough
party.
Exactly. But one thing that doesn't even get enough credit in all those scenes is Greg and Bill. You know, they have been a part of horse racing for a long time and have had hundreds of horses. And so to see them as that horse crosses the finish line, unbelievable. Like they just became us. You know, they are jumping into our arms almost more than we are to them. And so to see Bill at the Breeders' Cup do the same thing, I think he threw a chair into the stands. Everyone's seen that interview that he did after the Louisiana Derby where he can barely breathe. But that is what it's all about. And those guys we owe everything to throughout this journey because we're on CNC, right? Right now, they are not, and we are not the majority owners in this whole endeavor, but they understand what we could potentially bring to this sport, and they see the bigger picture. They say, hey, keep going. They couldn't be more supportive, and it takes, a lot of, putting aside your ego and just very, very holy, great people and humans to be able to kind of take that stance. And Greg and Bill and all of Roadrunner Racing have been absolutely unbelievable, not just kind of mentors, but, they're friends going forward. We're going to pick their brains. They're successful business people. We're not there yet, not even close. And so it's been so nice throughout this entire journey to just kind of meet people like Greg and Bill, who we would have never have met if it wasn't for horse racing and it wasn't for Chuck.
Riley, tell me about the journey now to New York and what you guys have got planned in the next 10 days or so.
Yeah, so we're taking red eyes Monday night. Monday's the holiday, and we're getting in right before the post position draw on Tuesday morning. So we'll be heading straight from JFK to the track, which I couldn't be more excited about. And then from there, it's just going to the barn every morning, seeing Chuck, gallop around or just stretch his legs in the mornings and hang out with him, which is some of my favorite times, leading up to the race, just getting to spend that early, alone time at the barn, not alone, but like us five and Doug and Dennis sometimes there. And so, yeah, we can't wait. I've been looking forward to it since he crossed the wire in third in Kentucky.
I was just thinking, what I love so much about you guys is that people talk about horse racing and the millennial attention span being so short. So horse racing can never appeal to the next generation because, it's 2 minutes here and then there's a half-hour gap and people have got to hang around all afternoon. And it's just not conducive to the way people operate and think now. Alex, don't you feel that what you've brought to the table is your willingness to embrace it, experientially, embrace the backside, embrace the horses working, embrace everything about it, not just those 2 minutes of adrenaline?
Certainly. I think that there's just not a ton of transparency to the common person to know what goes into it. Like, football players, they play once every 7 days. And even that, that's kind of the least frequent of any major sport. But there is some insight into the workouts, the practices, the training camp, the coach carousel of which coaches are going where, there's a lot of insight to that. And there's an analog and a certain beauty to the way it works in horse racing as well. In the preparation, the training, everywhere, anyone from the jockey to the trainer to all the people in the barn who make it work every single day. And there's a lot of reverence to be had for all of the inner workings of the business and the industry as a whole that people don't have a lot of insight to. Then actually on the actual race days, 2 minutes of high octane action followed by kind of 30 minutes of a decompression. I think actually, for anyone who's spent time at the track, I think is really conducive to kind of the millennial mindset. You have food, you have alcohol, you have gambling. People have like a ton of collateral to be reading through like the sheets or through the daily racing form, and understanding the numbers and digesting all the data. I think there is a certain allure to it. I just think from the outside looking in, it's pretty difficult to digest and understand what people should be looking for. And then just access to tracks. Like if you live in 98% of the country, you don't have easy access to a race or track that anyone's ever heard of before. So, mobilizing people to get out and participate is kind of difficult.
Alex, you talk a lot about the similarities between, football and the camp and training, et cetera, and horse racing and the lack thereof, maybe of transparency or involvement by owners. Do you think that there's a real opportunity here to get others into the industry that just purely love sports because of the fact that you can find those similarities? Do you find that either a former athlete or somebody who just purely enjoys sport would enjoy horse racing if given the opportunity to understand it?
I think absolutely. And you see the personalities that come out for the Kentucky Derby every year, and those are some pretty high-profile athletes, be it Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. We also see there are a lot of former athletes who are now owners of horses because they see that certain beauty. I know we were watching a race on TV the other day, and former MLB catcher Victor Martinez owns a horse that made it the Kentucky Derby, I think, 2 years ago. And so there's certainly people who have had exposure to the industry, who have also played athletics at a very high level, who see those analogs and really put two and two together and appreciate the things that we've grown to appreciate, because these are world-class athletes, these horses, and we see the work that they put in, the work the trainers put in, the work that everyone in the barns put in, and we really relate to that and find it to be really attractive.
I love that. It's your eyes. I mean, Patrick's been in this industry for a long time through his family, but it seems like your eyes have been open to the beauty that many of us see in this industry. Eric, was there anything about horse racing in general that perhaps surprised you now that you're so involved and successful, I'd say?
It surprised me that we went to the Kentucky Derby on our third horse. That was certainly a surprise. But I don't know. It's fun. It's really fun. Horse racing is really fun. It's fun to compete. It's fun to win. It's fun to get third in the Kentucky Derby. And so, look, we're all really competitive guys. I think a lot of people in horse racing are really competitive. We kind of miss that a little bit. Former college athletes, getting out there competing every single day on the football field, in the weight room, whatever it was. You graduate college and now it's like, okay, go and be domesticated in the real world. And it's like, no, like I'm still hungry to compete every single day. And this is kind of an outlet for us to continue that. And it's a lot of fun.
I'm glad you stressed how competitive you all are, because I think that has to inform your love of doing it. You want to win as much as you want to be part of it. Patrick, I spoke to you just after the Kentucky Derby, just moments after the horses crossed the line, and clearly you've got to be thrilled with his performance, and you look back on it in the cold light of day, and it's great. But were you a little deflated because you'd got so close?
It's a great question. I think there was 20, 30 seconds of deflation, right? There was, hey, he had a chance at the top of the stretch. If you kicked it, and if you think about all the things you could have done, like Uncle Doug, why didn't you work him a little bit quicker? So he had a little bit more endurance, to have some stamina for the last.
Do you have that conversation with him?
No comment. But truly, then you realize you sit there, and I just remember this moment. I look down, and it's just all of us, and we're looking our best at the 147th Kentucky Derby. Chuck is safe and healthy. He kept running on. There's no injury. And we just ran an absolute monster race and had a week that we'll never forget. And so if you come back to that and say, why in the world did we put together Boat Racing LLC? Why did we invest in Hot Rod Charlie? We'd be not very smart individuals to be disappointed with that run. And so, again, just extremely blessed. The competitive side of us, Nick, which I think you're trying to get at. Yes, we want to go into New York City and absolutely crush the competition next Saturday, right? No doubt in our minds. But again, the reason that we're there is because of this horse, and this horse is safe, healthy, and he's bringing us on this wild ride. So at the end of the day, it's all just, cherries and whipped cream.
I suppose maybe a little bit of what I was getting at as well was the extent to which you felt kind of in a nice way wrung out by the experience. I've got to be careful with where I'm taking this metaphor, but almost you'd built up and up and up and up and up and up to this incredible. What? Stop it! You got there before me. What? Anyway, you know what I'm getting at. You get to this incredible, I'm going to say the word, climax, and then there is that natural element of kind of like, because you've put so much, you've invested so much emotional energy into this.
Like a volcano, right, Nick? That's what you're saying. Like a volcano.
Exactly. I mean, listen, please.
Thanks, Mark.
Well, Nick, if you had been at our party that night, you would have known that we did not run out of gas at the racetrack. We had plenty of reason to celebrate, and whether we would have won or if we would have been at the rear running 19th with soup and sandwich, we would have been having the time of our lives that night, regardless.
Yeah.
I think Alex said it well. We won that race when we were walking around the track on the way to the gate because we had all of our friends there, all of our people. Like, that was the climax of, like, we're here, we're having fun, we made it. This is what we prepared for. The race, that was a nice to have at that point.
So how big is the team come next Saturday in New York?
Yeah, the text chain's going off, Brittany. We don't know if we'll hit the 165, I think was the final number for the Kentucky Derby, but we're getting there. And, fortunately, we do know a ton of people in New York City. So there's a chance that, last minute, there's like, hey, we heard you have a horse. We'd love to, go to the Belmont Stakes. So it could be close. We'll see. It's going to be nose and nose to the wire.
I'm curious, and I know we've kept you guys for so long, but for those wanting to get into the sport, from what you've taken away from this experience thus far, and Patrick, I might exclude you from this because you've been in the industry for so long, but from each of you, Eric, Alex, Riley, what would you share with somebody that doesn't know anything about the sport that might convince them, hey, this is pretty cool?
I'll start. For me, it's community. Like, it's not about the 5 of us or 4 of us here on the phone. It's about all the people that we get to cheer with at every single race. Like, I talk to my grandparents after every single race because we always have something to cheer about. And it's hard to find that across sports. Like, not everyone loves football and not everyone loves basketball, whatever it is. But horse racing, like, it's just an easy sport to understand. It's competitive. It's exciting. It checks all the boxes. And that community, bringing together to cheer for a common goal is what it's about for me.
I love that. Alex, what about you?
Yeah, if people are interested in learning more about it, I would just encourage kind of the things that Pat led off with, which is do it because you want to have fun with it. Don't do it because you think that you're going to end up going to the Kentucky Derby, because that's absolutely not what we set out for. It was a pipe dream, and actually Dan said it best. It was like an ongoing joke, even when Chuck was finishing like 5th and 6th in his maiden races. It's like, yeah, we're going to the Kentucky Derby still. It's going to be great. And there's a lot of beauty in kind of the single A, double A baseball equivalent of horse racing, as well as, the major leagues, whether you're running in grade 1s, if you're going to the Breeders' Cup, whatever. It's a beautiful game regardless of the level you're playing at. So, if you're going into it, have expectations are going to be, punting around in allowance races and claiming races, but the 2 minutes is just as intense if you're at Fauner Park as it is if you're at Churchill Downs. And do it with people you love, do it with people you trust, and just appreciate the animal. Chuck is such a beautiful creature. He has created so many memories for us. He has such a great personality, and being able to spend time with him as kind of an avenue to spend time with each other has been a real blessing.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. I'm so struck by. Sorry. Go on, Riley.
I don't know. I think I'm a little bit on delay here, so my bad if you guys are talking to me and I'm not responding. But I would just echo what those two guys said. They said it perfectly. If you're gonna get into it for the right reasons. It's such a fun sport, and everybody can love it, and everybody can get behind it. And one of my favorite things is like everybody's rallying around one common thing, and that is the horse. And it's really about the love of the horse. And for us, it's Charlie. And it's such a cool thing for everybody to get behind. And there's no reason not to get into it if you're doing it for the right reasons.
I think I've heard "For the Right Reasons" on this show more than any Bachelor episode I've ever watched, which is saying something. Anybody that watches The Bachelor will know what I'm talking about.
I'm pretty sure Pat's going to be on the next season. That's at least what I heard.
Yeah? Are we breaking news right here?
Fake news. Come on, Alex.
Well, I watch, so I will see you on there. This has been so much fun, you guys. Not actually as The Bachelor. Thank you very much, Nick. I saw your face. Thank you guys for joining us.
This is it. We're 6,000 miles away, and we can still just communicate with a facial tick. We don't even have to speak nowadays. I can get a bollocking from across the ocean for nothing, just for moving an eyebrow. It's amazing.
And Mark's saving the show today.
No,
thank you, Mark.
I had to make up for last week, so you know.
Thank you, Mark, for restoring the dignity to the show that it was much needed after my, sophomoric nonsense earlier on. Appreciate it. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed that, and how inspiring I hope it is for everybody who watched this evening and who hopefully will watch during the course of the week. And I wish I was with you at Belmont Park, because it's just such a fantastic journey you've taken all of us on. And thank you all so much for being the owners of Hot Rod Charlie.
Thank you, Nick. Big fans of you all, so appreciate the time. And
cheers, guys.
Go Chuck.
Keep it going, you guys. Go Chuck. Cheers. Tell Dan he might be kicked out of the group for not joining us. But thank you again. Long time spent on here. Cheers.
Yeah. Party on, boat racing.
I love it. My first hosting attempt, and they carry on my, final phrase.
What? Well, this was Louisiana Derby.
Yes, yeah, it was. It was.
Well, there you go. You see,
final line going to break.
You nailed your link. Right.
Attempted to. They were fantastic. And as I said before, there are so many reasons that you can get behind Hot Rod Charlie. Not just, a young group of guys in the sport, just thrilled to be there. The donations to the Melanoma Research Alliance, which also, just for a moment. Melanoma Research Alliance.
I didn't know you were going to do that.
Yeah, if you would like to donate, again, we have that link we have a link in the comment section if you're able to do so. But there's one more other thing that I did want to touch on before we wrap here is the Jake Panis Scholarship Foundation that was created. If anybody watched the Kentucky Derby, you will have seen a blanket that Hot Rod Charlie was wearing, and it was to honor the late Jake Panis. He's the son of Stephen Panis, who is very involved in horse racing and a good friend of Doug O'Neill's. Sadly, he passed away in a tragic car accident, and Doug wanted to find some way to honor Jake. And so what was created by the family was the Jake Panis Walk-On Football Endowed Scholarship. And the hope being that, though Jake never had the opportunity to attend his University of Southern California, the Game Hawks, which he was a huge fan of, this scholarship could inspire others to work hard and follow their dreams both on and off the field. So to honor Jake and also to bring awareness to this Walk-On Football Endowed Scholarship, Hot Rod Charlie, again, at the Belmont, will be wearing this special blanket that on each side shows the crest of University of South Carolina, but also a little crest that Jake used to wear as well, and honoring him. So if you would like to donate as well to this, because all the support they can get is wonderful. So donate.sc.edu, Jake Panis Scholarship. And there is the blanket with the Game Hawk logo, JPB, in honor of the late Jake Panis. And just a horrific accident, but Doug O'Neill, Team Hot Rod Charlie, doing everything they can to show their support to their friend Steven and the late Jake, and this wonderful scholarship that they've created in his name.
There you are. There's the address there, donate.sc.edu, and the details on your screen now, and alongside the chat there if you want to copy and paste that into your address bar for the Jake Panis Walk-On Football Endowed Scholarship. Hot Rod Charlie doing so many good things for so many people.
Hey, how can you not root for that horse?
Yeah.
It's
Seriously, there was a moment. I mean, I don't want to dwell on it, but there was a moment, just as they turned into the lane in the Derby, where you just half thought, "Hell, this is going to do it." And then,
I'll be honest, I was rooting. You know, it's just, again, it's such an easy horse team to root for. And yeah, he did look like he was going to do it. So can he do it next week?
Why not? I mean, obviously it's the Belmont Stakes, so the big question is, will he get the distance? Is he better equipped to run that far than Essential Quality, the horse that Brad Cox said was his Belmont horse all along? Is he better equipped than Rombauer, the horse who's moving forward so fast?
Or Rock Your World, who didn't get any sort of trip, that might be able to lope along on the lead alone? Maybe.
Yeah, and the way that Rispoli talked about the way that Rock Your World hit the line in the Santa Anita Derby would give you hope in that regard, and he never got to show anything in the Kentucky Derby because it didn't go his way from the start. So many imponderables, but a wonderful race. I wish Malathar was running.
Me too. That would have just it would have been the icing on the cake if she would have been there. But still, a fantastic race, and really looking forward to it. So many great storylines. You heard just a few of them tonight. So many more to touch on.
That's right. Can I put the top hat on now?
No, you can. Yes.
Thank you. Right. Well, you asked for it, so
I did. I just following the rundown.
Can I float something out there? What about Breeders' Cup 2021? Nick shows up in a full Willy Wonka purple suit and top hat, dressed the nines to match the purple colors. What do you say, Nick? Can your guy take care of you for that?
It's so tall it barely fits into the picture. Look.
There's no headroom, no.
No headroom.
Yeah. Is that taller than most?
It is it is quite a tall one. I like it. Yeah.
It's a dramatic curvature to it.
Yeah, I saw a female rock a top hat once, and it was a different vibe than that, but still a similar shape. Do you think I could rock that? I don't know.
You could definitely rock this. Yeah,
Alaska.
This is camp enough for you to rock. For sure.
I love it. Sure. I love
it. Our producer Haley's a big fan.
Who wouldn't be a big fan?
Yeah. I think she's also a fan of the purple top hat idea too. So just want to remind you of that. Yeah, but
this was fun.
I think I get to wear this next week as well on Belmont Day. Well, on Belmont Day, of course, is the Derby at Epsom. So it may well be I get to wear it then.
Wait. Can I mention something that was news to me, but involves you and your racetracks? Storm the Court, I just saw. Somebody.
I saw it.
Is nominated to a race at Goodwood.
Is entered for the Sussex Stake at Goodwood. Now, I was going to ring you and say, I know how much influence you have over Big Pete, but did you just ring and say, Dad, put this in here so I can go to Goodwood?
I had no idea. I reached out to the owner and they said, yeah, it's a thought. So that's why they entered.
Beautiful.
I think he'd like some moisture in the ground, which you would get over there. Anyways, I thought that was funny.
Cool. I think that's us done, isn't it?
It is. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I apologize we didn't get to questions, but I think there were more comments and support for Hot Rod Charlie than anything else. But Mark, it was so great having you back.
Thank you guys so much. So great to be with you. I needed a little bit of routine and, of course, to see your smiling faces. And what a fun show. I mean, this the entire almost hour and a half has just been light and fun, and those guys are absolutely amazing and really kind of a breath of fresh air, right? You know, a fresh perspective on the sport and what it means to be joining it. And yeah, really, really fun to listen to them talk.
And happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Yes, Breeders' Cup win and you're in from Santa Anita, the Shoemaker Mile, and we will see all of you in 2 weeks' time. Off for the Belmont, back after the Belmont.
Cannot wait. Try not to miss me too much. Love you guys. Good night.
Cheers.